Okay. So let's hear it. So this is the part where the fun part we get to share gratitudes and wins.
Ashley's got a listing appointment.
Yes.
That's huge.
Ashley. I know your mind's racing right now, but you have a freaking listing appointment. So yeah, we can we'll talk right after this. But yeah, that's awesome. Good job.
Thank you.
Who else? Who else? Thank you, Levi, for giving someone else too.
Yeah, sorry.
No, whatever. Like we need reminders from other people. That's great. I love it. Anyone else?
Yeah, I showed a whole bunch of houses. So we were gonna put an offer in on one. I had it all ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
They decided the price point for that one was too high. So we have another one we'll be putting an offer in today.
Great.
I was able to work through the rest of those objections. So we got that other listing coming up. So they're ready. So I need to get the documents over to them. I'm grateful that I found a medication. Like I just had a good doctor that just kind of helped break things down for me for my stomach.
Yeah.
And then
Awesome. Man,
and then my meetup group went freaking awesome.
Really?
So my Zoom meeting, yeah. I was so like just like, oh man, this is probably gonna turn out to be, just kind of like a silly thing at first. But everybody jumped into it. Like by the end, everybody's like, okay, but when's the soonest we can plan this? Because they were all really excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Leadership. Good job, man. While we're on the Levi train, I wanted to say, like, I'm grateful for people that trust me. And one of the hardest things for people to hear, I'm going to say in general, is when I tell them you've got this, right? So when we're trying something new for the first time, of course we want someone to we're kind of second guessing some things, or we just want someone to look over stuff. But there's a point at which we rely on others' judgment of ourselves that we might not be able to see. And I just wanted to say, Levi's a freaking rock star. And I told him this, I won't, if I don't feel 100% confident in someone, I won't say, you've got this, jump out of the nest if I don't think they're going to fly. But I'm grateful for people's trust at times. So I hope you don't mind me saying so, but there was a point in our conversation over the weekend where Levi's I think I was the sections of the rep sheet, and he's like, you know what? How did you say it? I can't remember, but there's power behind it. He's like, you know what? I do have this. Yeah. I know what I'm doing. So that is so important behind everything we do and say. If I don't have the answers, I can get the answers, but I'm fully capable of making things happen too. So I just want to give a shout out to Levi. He's a freaking rock star. So anyone else?
Yeah, I'll go.
Sure. Let's hear it.
I'm just grateful for you guys in this community, help pushing everyone forward, and it's a great resource for all of us. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
It's kind of the backbone, and it's helping us all reach our goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks, Connor. And dude, it's awesome to have you. Talk about a love fest. Should we just call it Love Fest in the morning? But yeah, I'm grateful to work with all of you guys, and I learn from you guys all the time. So I always tell people as I'm meeting with them, it's our group has so many different backgrounds and personalities, but we're all focused on a goal to build something for ourselves, our families, and we're here to help one another out. That's what we have in common. It's pretty awesome. So very cool. I want to make sure I don't leave anyone out before I move on. Anyone have anything else? Okay. All right. I'd like to share with you guys a story. I've told it a couple times, and I think I may have told it to this group before. I keep going back to reminding you guys I am a male over the age of 40, so I'm beginning to tell the same stories over and over again. I can see it starting to happen already. But one of my favorite stories is in the 1930s, there's a guy by the name of Edgar Joseph. He went by E.J. O'Hare, and he was living in St. Louis and starting out with his family, passed the bar exam, looking to make his place in the world and all of that good stuff. And he was starting to build a practice, and things were improving for him quite a bit. Of course, he had the same problems everyone else does, but he eventually moved to Chicago, a larger market, and he partnered with Al Capone. Now, in these times, partnering with Al Capone, with him being such a magnate of industry within Chicago, is almost just like aligning yourself with large business, right? It was almost understood that if you were working for Al Capone, it could be like working for HP or something like that, right? So he begins working for him, and he scales the corporate ladder very quickly. Something that was difficult for him was kind of like the thug life side of things, and he was working for some time and very close to Capone within his higher ups, and this is probably like 1935, 33, around there. But he had a kid on the way, and during this time, he has this small child and everything, and of course, his thoughts start to turn to, what is my kid gonna think of me, right? And when I put myself in this guy's shoes, however much I can, thinking about your kids, my kids are a huge driver to what I do every day, and I can only imagine the things he would witness or see or be a part of at work, and then come home, and then just that inner conflict with what's going on there. So his kid, like, by the way, EJ, he always had a fascination with flying and things like that. And he took his kid on a couple flights and stuff. But yeah, it came to a time where he's just thinking, I can't continue to do this. However, talk about a hard decision. I know if I turn Capone in, I'm gone. Like, they're going to track me down. They're going to know it's me. I'm a dead man, right? And can you imagine the conflict this guy would have had? Like, I'm not living true to what I believe in and what's important to me. And then I come home to my kid and my wife every night. And then on this side, having to make a hard decision like that. And eventually he does make the decision where he goes to the IRS and turns over tax records to the IRS. And we know that starts the chain of events where Capone was eventually brought in for tax evasion. So fast forward a little bit, and of course, he already knew what was going to happen, but he's on his way back from the dog tracks one night, and two guys in a car speed by, and he's killed by a shotgun blast. They just fill his car with holes with a shotgun, and he passes away. But what's neat about this is his kid eventually, at this time, as he's understanding who his father was and the hard decisions that he made, his kid then joins during World War II the Air Force, and he becomes a flying ace. In fact, he becomes a highly decorated fighter plane flyer in World War II. And because of this, sometime later, a guy from the Chicago Tribune makes the recommendation that they rename their airport. And that's essentially why Chicago is called the Chicago O'Hare Airport right now. And I wanted to share this with you guys because there's a few things I took from it. I don't know if at the time EJ O'Hare had the thought, like, if I make this very difficult decision in turning in Capone, and which will lead to my death, almost assuredly, 100% sure of it. If he knew, like, going forward, his son would react to his decision in that way and become the individual he was in that way. And of course, from there, that they would rename the airport after his son. I'm sure if he would have known that, he would have made that decision in an instant, right? But what this brings to light for me is every single day, we may not be faced with the decision of, luckily, I'm going to tell you guys, Marcus is not engaged in any like back channel activities where I turn him in or anything like that. So I don't have the same decisions that EJ O'Hare may have in front of him. However, a lot of the decisions I make on a daily basis, in fact, I'm not sure if you've heard of statistics, but in different lines of work and business, like typically an average individual will make tens of thousands of decisions every day. That's essentially why at the end of the day, I may go home after a very busy day where I'm trying to make all of these decisions, and someone asks me a decision, right? Or what choice I have, and I'm just exhausted. I say, I don't know. I don't know what I want. Usually that comes down to what are we having for dinner, right? It's where it's like, if it's chicken or whatever it is, it's fine. I just really don't want to make any more decisions. We're mentally exhausted. But how many decisions am I making purposefully on a daily basis where I have put thought into what must occur in my life and legacy, perhaps with my kids and the things that drive me and what's most important? And am I making these decisions complacently or with complacency where I'm just deciding as things come, I'm going to see what unfolds today and we'll see where it takes me? Or am I being purposeful about every choice I have, which will eventually lead to that individual that makes those hard choices in life? But I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts around this? That's one of my favorite stories about making choices. But what are your guys' thoughts around choices we make every day and how to put more weight in the choices we have? Ooh.
Deep. I always tell people one of the greatest things that ever happened to me is this is gonna get kind of deep. Sorry, guys. When I kind of questioned my faith. So I started kind of living a different way because I grew up super LDS, and so for me it was kind of like I always caught myself being like, Jesus will take the wheel. So like once I kind of started questioning things and just thinking for myself, like, what if there is nothing after this? My decisions started kind of shifting to me making decisions based on like, I only have one life, I only have one opportunity. And so when I started doing a lot of transports with these troubled youth, like I would ask them these questions, like, what if this is like, not to question their beliefs or anything, I was just like, what if you only have like the one life to make these decisions, And ever since that time, like I truly believe like even the small decisions you make in the day, whether it's to put cologne on or not, or to brush your teeth or not, like how much it affects the future, like 5 to 10 years down the road. Like each decision you make can have such a big effect or such a small, but you don't know until you make them.
So cool. So were you guys able to hear Levi okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So what I'm hearing from what you're saying is, I feel like I'm level shifting.
Yeah.
So what I heard is identify what our beliefs are, because our beliefs are driving our actions typically and our values, right? Because of your beliefs, you put so much value on this life and the time you have that you're putting more purpose into things, right?
So true.
Yeah.
And another thing is to be vulnerable to like picking the wrong decisions, because it also helps you kind of change your beliefs.
Very good. Yeah, very good. So being okay with making the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
We're making decisions in every moment, right? A lot of times I think that's one of the most common like lies we may tell ourselves. If I just stay at home and don't do anything, I'm not making decisions today and I can get away from things, but I'm in effect making decisions to stay at home and hide and put my head in the sand, right?
Right.
So, awesome. Anyone else? Any thoughts around that?
Mine would just be with kind of along the lines of Levi with my faith. I've growing up was a little bit harder and sent here at 7, and then my dad, so I didn't want to be anything like my parents. So with raising my son, that's a really big thing to me. And when I catch myself freaking out about something, I have to stop myself and remember how I felt when I was his age and my parents were acting a certain way. So then I stop myself and have to go walk away, calm down, and come back to it. But his well-being and his happiness is a lot more important to me. I mean, not that it wouldn't be important. He is my child, but the reason of wanting to have him. So,
Amazing. That's awesome. Thank you. So experiences we have can shape the way that we approach
Yes.
these decisions, right?
mhm.
That's great. I love it. So feel free to chime in, guys, if you have a thought or anything. I'll do my best to make sure I see on here if someone raises their hand or something. But I wanted to go over a couple things with you guys. What I pull out of this historical account with the O'Hares, and then for me, I always want to not only identify like where I can make improvements, but have a specific action plan around it. So I'm going to share with you guys a few things that, and I keep saying this, but areas in which we can take personal inventory and maybe rate ourselves in some areas to see where we can make perhaps improvements or adjustments. Okay. So one thing I think is very clear in that story is E.J. O'Hare had a very clear idea of what action needed to be taken. And then on top of that, what it would lead to, right? So he knew that he would sacrifice most likely himself to make this decision, but he also knew the why behind it. We keep talking about the why all the time, right? But so I would just go back to know what you want specifically. You talked about your kid, Ashley, right? I know for me, maybe not having opportunity when I was younger and not feeling in control of where I was going because of like externals and things like that. For me, I've changed this into my kids will never feel that way. I want them to know that I'm there for them, but still kind of like as Levi said, be okay with the wrong decisions, but also trust themselves to make decisions and know that they're in control of creating whatever it is that they want, as long as they put in the work, right? So based on that, what am I doing on a daily basis where I can have the authority or the power behind what I say in that? Am I living that way, or am I simply reading it from a book and trying to regurgitate it, right? So it goes back to that for me. What is it that I want specifically? And once I know what it is that I want specifically, and I say specifically for a reason, because once I know that, I'm going to know what the price is if I'm specific enough, right? So one thing I'm going to paraphrase, but I love the quote, we can either pay the price of sacrifice for what we love, or pay the price of regret for not stepping into it, for not stepping forward. So there's always a price. So yes, know what you want specifically, and you have to know why you're going through this. You have to know what the price is. And those that are hugely successful in their own eyes and what they're looking to accomplish in life, they knew what the price was and they were more than willing to pay it on a daily basis, right? Another thing I wrote down is we have to be willing to change. And I wrote this is very difficult for a lot of people, for everyone. Be willing to know you may not be right. I think there's something deep down that if I can say I'm right about something, and if I'm following my own thoughts and saying these thoughts, if they're my thoughts, they must be true thoughts. They must be the way it is. There's safety in that, right? Because I think we've all gotten to a point where we're so sure about something. One example I give is like with my wife, like all the time, I'm looking in the refrigerator and I'm like, where's the mustard? Like, she's like, it's right in the door. And I'm like, you know, refrigerators now, they have all these compartments. And I'm like, I am standing in front of the door. It's a yellow bottle of mustard and there is no mustard. I am telling you. And I am so sure that there is no mustard in our refrigerator. And what happens? Like, she walks over and then literally it's like in front of me, there's mustard. And my whole world, like, I'm like, whoa, what is going on? I was wrong. I was so sure I was right. And my world gets like flipped upside down, right? I think for the most part, I know with many of us, we have been telling ourselves the same things for so much time. We need to be right. We have that need, because if I'm not, what does that mean? right? We need that safety net.
Go.
Think that we're always right and things. So we have to be willing to accept that we may not be right about some of our beliefs that we have, right? Some of us may be helping us, but some may be debilitating. What I'd recommend is write down your beliefs. This was something for me in my life, and it continues to be something that is, oh man, I can't imagine, in addition to writing down on a daily basis my like affirmations or gratitudes or wins, writing down my beliefs. There's something about writing it down. If I don't truly believe it, I can't get myself to write it down. I just resist it. And it forces me to think deep down, like, what is it? What are my values? What is it that I believe? And I'll find out a lot of beliefs I may have may be hurting me. And then when I write it down, I can easily say, you know what, that may not be 100% true, right? So again, be willing to say to yourself, the story I'm telling myself is, and then that kind of opens you up to hearing other perspectives and reaching out to people for help where normally I wouldn't. Okay. Another thing I have here, and these are things that we can do to, again, work purposefully and make better decisions. Who do you surround yourself with? Right? Am I surrounding myself with individuals that I've kind of just fallen in line with? I think about this, and like when I'm younger, you know, it was always the kids that I hung out with, the first friends that I made. I remember I went through phases of listening to punk rock, and I remember I was at two different high schools, and I remember my first high school on the basketball team, it was like punk, and we would listen to punk rock like all the time. And then I transferred schools, and then it was like hip hop, and then I just changed like that, and it was the people I was surrounding myself with. It's not that it was a bad thing, but it's important to understand that we continue to do that as adults. If we aren't purposeful about those we surround ourselves with in different aspects of our lives and different values that we have and beliefs, typically we're going to start to mirror those things. So be purposeful about that, right? And again, I won't be able to identify those individuals if I haven't identified what's important to me and the choices I make, right? So anyone have any thoughts on this so far? I know I just keep going, but
I've been there.
yeah, with the punk to the hip hop side of things, or
Just the people you surround yourself with.
yeah. So what's interesting to me is a lot of times we think, well, who's around me? I mean, I'm in the midst of COVID right now, or hopefully there are vaccines that are out, or I have a family at home, or I can't leave, work to surround myself with these people at work. What's interesting for me is once I've identified that these are things that are absolutely important to me in my life, those individuals start to just show up. I don't know how else to say it. Once I identify what's important to me and what I value and I take action, these individuals just start to show up. It's the best I can say about that. Another thing I'll say is I used to start, or I still do, we all do, start my day thinking, just don't let anything bad happen today, right? And this goes into kind of some of what you were talking about with beliefs before, but we just want to go through the day, don't let anything bad happen. We have that mindset, right? As long as nothing bad happens today, I'm gonna get everything done I need to get done, right? Or I need to take care of these things in the morning, please don't allow bad stuff to happen. And we turn in prayer or meditation or whatever it is with that. Levi started to go into this, but I'm going to say this, and I just wrote down these words: arm your mindset for battle every day. Many times we wish for all the problems to go away. I think we've learned by now, problems don't go away. There's just new problems, right? And we talked about before, problems in and of themselves. If I'm facing the same problems now as I did a year, 2 years ago, what do you think that's telling me? It's probably telling me that my capability and my abilities have not increased to get through those problems. We see it in people that scale in business and through growth. Problems they had maybe 2 years ago, 5 years ago, aren't as big of a problem today because their capacity increases and they allow it to. So don't hope for things to be different. Just hope to increase in learning and your ability. One quote I really like is, happiness is not the absence of problems, but the ability to deal with them. So basically we need better problems, right? And it's probably infuriating at times when you talk to someone and this is like a huge deal, and then someone is not like, are you kidding? I know, right? This is the worst ever. Probably like, no, this is really bad. But maybe those individuals have been through some of those same problems and know that you're going to be okay on the other side, right? So, I'm gonna compare it to there's not gonna throw out book names again because I know we get like 3 different books every day. But in a book I'm reading, it compares it to like tending a garden. And this individual that's a mentor, he challenged this other guy to tend a part of the garden. And he goes out there and he just hears this guy cussing and like groaning and moaning and all this stuff. And he goes over there and this guy's just like, I swear I come here every single day and there's weeds all the time. And he's like, every single day there's like new weeds and I just want to get it made so everything's okay and there's no weeds and there are no problems. I remember for myself, I put down weed blocker in certain areas of landscaping our house and then like mulch and stuff. And I would put an extra layer of weed blocker, but there would still be weeds and still be issues. And so, of course, the mentor is kind of laughing about it because he's like, this is absolutely necessary. You need to understand that you have to put in the work on a daily basis and it's never going to be perfect. I know that very well right now. So just accept that there are going to be issues. Give yourself to like the vision of what it is that you're building. Doesn't mean that you're going to be in the same place. What it actually means is as you increase in capability and taking care of the weeds that are going on in your garden right now, they're going to be able to have a larger garden as your capabilities increase, as your abilities increase, right? So what is your plan around what am I doing to increase my skill set? What am I doing on a daily basis to arm my mindset so that I approach these things the right way? And just like you said, Ashley, you gave a perfect example. You talked about, and this is like huge self-control, but a lot of times, especially with kids, when we want to react like right away, right? You talked about you've increased in your ability to take a step back, breathe a minute, and then like center yourself based on what you grew up with or whatever it may be as a reminder, and then you come back to the situation differently. What if we did that within every decision we make throughout the day, or at least where we react like the way we typically react to things? What would change for us, right? So hopefully this helps, guys. I just want to leave this with you guys. There's actually, let's see, there's a quote, if I can find it. Oh, it's 9:05. If I can find it fast enough. Anyone have any thoughts on this before we close, or anything that stood out to you today that you're gonna put into action?
Yeah, so I actually love this conversation because it's something that I've kind of been putting into action. It's such an alien world for me to like wake up and think, oh man, I don't want these issues to happen. Because like I wake up and I'm like, oh man, like throw everything at me because the amount of personal growth that comes from all those things. So I'm like, it's probably a dangerous place to be on this line as well, because I'm obsessed with actually like putting myself in the hardest situations each and every day because the amount of growth I receive from it. I remember listening to Kevin Ward's podcast, and he was talking about how as real estate agents, or as someone that wants to be successful, it's important for us to learn to work in high stress environments. And I was so addicted to it because I was like, I seriously, like, I want to learn to be in the most stressful situations. And I look for how I'm going to come out of it on top and just beat the shit out of it. And so I love it, seriously.
Yeah, I think a couple of things that are important with that is, at least for me, it depends on how we define stress and busyness, right? For me, there were times where I was just so busy, almost like it was a badge of honor, right? I'm just busier than anyone else. I'm so busy right now, right? Or I'm just so stressed right now, and things like that. One thing for me that helped me in a big way was I set mentally, like on a car, there's a speed governor, right? I set my own stress governor and my own like busyness governor. So if things got too out of hand, if I got too stressed, it's just like, I'm not allowing myself to get to a 8 anymore, right? I'm not allowing those RPMs to go this high anymore. I'm only allowing it to go up to this amount. And what's interesting, I have a feeling for you also, Ashley, going back to your example, is when I feel it like approaching that very quickly, I identify it and I'm just like, I'm not willing to get this stressed out about this, right? And that in essence allows me to think differently and become more capable to work through problems and grow. So I love that, Levi. It's great.
I listened to a Headspace this morning.
Yeah.
And it was talking about that and like how you should take, if you can't take a 10-minute break every 50 minutes, you should just close your eyes for a few seconds. And it helps because there are these like chemicals and hormones in your body. And you should listen to it.
Cool. Yeah.
But
Well,
it's really good.
cool. So it is important as we're going through the day. We talked about this in our Friday masterminds. I literally want to rename it. Time blocking is such an overplayed word, but we're going to call it time boundaries,
Okay.
right? Like from this time to this time, I've set up boundaries where this activity is most important to me. And part of that in a big way is what am I doing to stop? Like I'll tell you guys now, like during the day when it's getting like crazy and out of hand, I will take 15 minutes. I will go away where no one can find me. I pretty much go in my car and I like drive around the corner somewhere and I'll sit there and I do just that. I like recenter myself and like take those thoughts and everything out and just look at it from a broad overhead view. And then I come back and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing. But are we planning for that time during the day? So this is something I really like. This goes into a few things that have been said today, but he says day by day, minute by minute, second by second, we went from where we were to where we are now. The lives of all of us, of course, go through similar alterations and changes. The difference between the changes in my life and the changes in yours is only in the details. Time never stands still. It must steadily march on, and with the marching come the changes. This is our one and only chance at life, here and now. The longer we live, the greater is our realization that it is brief. Opportunities come, and then they are gone. I believe that among the greatest lessons that we are to learn in this short sojourn upon the earth are lessons that help us distinguish between what is important and what is not. I plead with you not to let those most important things pass you by as you plan for that elusive and non-existent future when you will have time to do all that you want to do. Instead, find joy in the journey now. So yeah, there are always going to be problems. There's always going to be something, right? I'm going to figure out how to till this part of my garden, and then something over here, there's going to be another issue, right? But it's also understanding what is truly important to me. Going back to that story and the example I shared in the beginning, he knew what was absolutely important and his decision became easy. Even if it was the decision in his life ending, right? His decision became easier because he knew what was absolutely important. Can I define within the activities that I do on a daily basis? If I were to look at your schedules, if you were to look at my schedule, would you be able to see immediately what's most important to me?
Yes.
Or would it be hard to see?
At that
Right.
moment, what's most important to you, yeah.
So I'm going to leave that with you guys. The first step is what is most important to me, and does my purposeful activity, my time boundaries on a weekly basis match what is most important to me right now? So I'm going to leave that with you. It's my thought today. It's going to be a good week. Do you guys feel like it's going to be a great week?
Yeah.
Do you guys think Ashley's going to have a kick arse listing appointment?
Yeah.
I always have to remember if I'm recording. Like, yeah. So Ashley, you're going to kill it. Let's talk in a few minutes and we'll go from there. Have a great week, guys.
Thanks.
Okay. See ya.
Thank you.
Yeah.